Thank you. This poem is a title poem. Rose Scholar, we went through 3 different titles, and I don't know why I probably shouldn't do this, but I want to tell you what the other titles were. The first title was my choice, and it was called House of Nancy, which sounds like a very reputable press in this country, so I was advised not to use it in case someone took offense. But the phrase does appear in one of the poems, House of Nancy. But so I wasn't told not to. I was just, Rose and David are wonderful editors. They don't make you do anything you don't want to do. But I thought, okay, I'll listen. They know what they're doing. So the next title was On the Patio at Octana, which is a patio in Cyprus where I go quite a bit to visit a friend. And but then Rose chose this, Tis Pity. And I have to say, Rose and David, you're a great couple as editors because you gave this, by choosing that title when I was editing, you gave the whole collection a much more whorish tone than I might have been able to do all on my own. So this title poem is called Tis Pity. Was I such a whore for you to leave this? So I'll start again. Was I such a whore for you to leave this way? Limbs flinging wildly in empty verse, citing lives like some old rabid memoir dog, wanting stories to be told, telling them lies, insouciant whispers, traces of the truth. Whatever happened to baby truth? It died a long commiserating death, warring with some Mephistophelian editor half its age, fresh from some new hell on earth. So here we go, another tale, another holler, whimper, gasp. These are the mixed poetic narratives we have wished and witnessed, waiting, wanting. They barely happened, and now we see the finish line and tell ourselves these stories before we post that hurdle, before we vet that joy. And this second poem was written in Cyprus. This is one of the poems that inspired the title On the Patio at Octana that we decided not to use. And it's called Pleasure. He does not see the sky as more beautiful and bright in the dying light. He has always known that blue is blue and radiant, that clouds are soft and tantamount to the pillows of a goddess, roughly pushing luck and privilege in and out of lives. He does not stare more keenly at the moon and stars. He has always known that precious celestial cars have driven him to worlds he craved and cherished. He does not regret the solid diving into pleasure, to have arrived here with so much sensation, thrill, and leisure, and then to perish. There is something perfect in the deconstructed pose of willows meant to weep and droop and plummet to the earth. Like fonts of leaves rooted in the ground, with trunks that smile and frown, groaning merrily sheathed by blades of grass on mounds of dirt. Tall, proud flowers, desolate and happily bound by inches, ashes, dust, and earth. And this last poem happened in Calgary, semi-fictionalized piece, and it's called Why Did You Have to Go Through a Car Wash on the Way to Our Mother's Funeral? Why did you have to go to a car wash on the way to our mother's funeral? I have tried to love you for such a long time and have succeeded at every turn. But this really takes a cake. I may not be able to get through this one without serious long-term therapy. It was like being encased in a single soapy teardrop with your only living relative from your immediate family sitting beside you and listening to the radio inside that teardrop. Like a simile wrapping itself around you without a scrap of mercy, just pulling you carelessly through an aisle of chemically disenchanted cleaning products. hoses and brushes like giant tentacles ripping away grimy manes of protective veneer laced with gloom and grayness. I did not spend all those years cultivating melancholia, a clear and present sadness, gripping my body like emotional barnacles of doom, just to have them threatened by an over-mechanized shower for automobiles. And then we came out of the goddamn car wash, and you had to pull over to the side of the parking lot, spending 20 minutes vacuuming the interior of the car. I almost wish you had backed over me. I would gladly lie down on the asphalt and die if you would only answer my single prayer, get me out of here. But you couldn't hear me over the hum of the other car wash patrons' gentle roar, not to mention the whir of the vacuum cleaner you wielded in every living surface, nook and cranny of your filthy jalopy. But did I say a thing? Did I complain? No. I just sat there silently listening to the radio, suppressing tears, cursing conception and the rise of brotherly love. I love you a lot, but I love pretentious cafes more. Overpriced appetizers, outlandishly small entrees served in the middle of a pristine white plate smeared elegantly with pureed broccoli. Sour apple martinis with a slice of green apple on the rim, and people who know enough not to take me with them to the car wash on the way to my mother's funeral. I know that she was your mother too, for 4 years longer than she was mine, and that she went out a lot of places with you, and that you might have resented my moving into your old womb. Windowless, reddish walls, veiny and damp. Only 4 years after you had left. But let me tell you, it was no picnic. And I know that you took her to the last movie she ever saw, the Titanic. And I refused to go because I knew how it ended. And I hate remakes and computer-generated romance. But I do not think that anything I have ever done warrants your unspoken, perhaps unconscious belief that I would ever have any desire whatsoever to accompany you to the car wash on the way to our mother's funeral. And then when that spurt of murky water shot through a tiny crack in the passenger's front seat window and laced my second-hand tuxedo jacket with a delicate spattering of tarnished droplets, I saw a tiny bubbly rainbow laughing in the rearview mirror. And it peeked its arched prismatic head through the little crack in the window, and it said, "Cheer up, old friend. A car wash is good for the soul." And then it spit in my face and disappeared. In a flood-like of arc-like proportions. I think I even saw pairs of animals of every kind flee from that car wash at that moment. It was a terrible and needless urban apocalypse, and I did not appreciate being a part of it. But I did hear the most beautiful version of My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean on the radio during the car wash, and I sang it softly to myself for days after, as comfort against the piercing sadness over our mother's death. A sadness that at times I felt I would never pass through in one piece or even alive. But I did, and I both blame and applaud you for it. You stripped me clean, brandished unconscious mechanized love all around me that day like a tattered, war-torn, filthy flag being waved and flung mindlessly in a wet and terrible storm. When you took me in your usual vehicle to the car wash on a day full of tears on the way to our mother's funeral, drenched with remorse at the end of the world. Thank you.